For the first 50 years or so between Egypt and Switzerland, the Gapminder displays that both countries do not increase in life expectancy but do increase in income per year. During this time, Egypt was slowly being taken over by the British during the Anglo-Egyptian War. The same goes for Switzerland until about 1975 when they revised their constitution to allow direct democracy by referendum. This could raise the life expectancy from things when deciding things such as healthcare. Egypt continues to stay constant with life expectancy until the 1910s when it begins to drop right around the time when their independence was restored. Switzerland continues to increase in both income and life expectancy even during the war. Switzerland begins its neutrality with the war in addition to the League of Nations. For about 30 more years, Egypt seems to bump around the same spot in the chart until about around 1950. Campaigns to reorient Egypt were taking place until Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, and Syria attacked the new state of Israel. Egyptian's army's poor performance increases unpopularity of King Farouk by 1948. At this point, for Switzerland, they have refused admission to the United Nations and have become a founder in the free trade. God damn it. For the first 50 years or so between Egypt and Switzerland, the Gapminder displays that both countries do not increase in life expectancy but do increase in income per year. During this time, Egypt was slowly being taken over by the British during the Anglo-Egyptian War. The same goes for Switzerland until about 1875 when they revised their constitution to allow direct democracy. This could raise the life expectancy from things when deciding things such as healthcare. Egypt continues to stay constant with their life expectancy until the 1910s when it begins to drop right around the time when their independence was restored. Switzerland continues to increase in both income and life expectancy even during the war. Around the 1920s, Switzerland began its neutrality with the war and its addition to the League of Nations. For about 30 more years, Egypt seems to bump around the same spot on the chart until around 1950. Campaigns to reorient Egypt were taking place until Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, and Syria attacked the new state of Israel. Egyptian army's poor performance increases unpopularity of King Farouk by 1948. At this point, for Switzerland, they have refused the admission to the League of Nations and have become a founder in the Free Trade Association by 1959. Then the rise of Nasser happens in Egypt and successfully leads the republic to an increase in both income and life expectancy and signing socialist policies. By the 90s, Switzerland has legally approved marriage between men and women and the women's right to vote. They have also restricted immigrants and foreign workers into their country. For Egypt, they have elected by now their third president who reimposes a state of emergency, restricting political activity, freedom of expression, and assembly in an attempt to liberalizing the economy. The early 2000s shows that Egypt begins to level off at the same rate they started out with a couple of bombings and conflict with Muslim brotherhoods. Switzerland continues a steady increase in 2020 an agreement signed with the EU on taxing accounts held in Swiss banks by EU taxpayers. However, the end of the 2000s led to Switzerland's recession and competition with the US's economy. In the present day, Egypt faces attacks from the Islamic State while Switzerland continues to make policy decisions through referendums such as deportation of foreigners who have committed serious crimes.